Quiet? You need to see this. Your fiancée is on her phone, the maid whispered to the billionaire boss. Marcus Ashford stood frozen outside his fiancée's bedroom door, his hand hovering inches from the ornate brass handle. Beside him, Sophia Martinez, his 27-year-old housekeeper, pressed a trembling finger to her lips, her dark eyes wide with urgency. "Please, Mr. Ashford," Sophia whispered, barely audible. "I know this is wrong, but you need to hear what she's saying. I can't keep this secret anymore." Marcus, at 33 years old, had built Ashford Enterprises from a small tech startup into a billion-dollar empire. He prided himself on reading people, on seeing through deception in boardrooms across the world. Yet standing outside his fiancée's door, about to eavesdrop on the woman he planned to marry in 2 months, he felt like a stranger in his own home. Through the heavy oak door, he could hear Victoria Langston's voice, animated and sharp. She was on the phone, clearly believing herself alone in the private wing of his Connecticut mansion. "Mother, will you relax? Everything is going exactly according to plan," Victoria said, her tone dripping with satisfaction. Marcus exchanged a glance with Sophia, whose expression was pained. She'd come to him just 10 minutes ago, finding him in his study, her hands wringing the fabric of her simple uniform apron. "I'm so sorry, Mr. Ashford," she'd said then, her voice shaking. "I would never normally intrude on your privacy or Miss Langston's, but I heard something today that I can't ignore. Please, you need to hear what she says when she thinks no one is listening." Now, pressed against the wall outside Victoria's suite, Marcus listened as his carefully constructed world began to crumble. "Yes, I know he's suspicious," Victoria continued, her voice carrying through the door. "That's why I'm being extra careful. The prenup has loopholes, my attorney assured me. And if I can just get him to add me to a few more accounts before the wedding, we'll be set." Marcus felt his stomach turn to ice. Sophia touched his arm gently, her expression full of sympathy and concern. He barely registered it, too focused on the voice beyond the door. "The maid situation is perfect," Victoria laughed, a sound that now grated on Marcus's ears like nails on a chalkboard. "I've been spreading little hints to the staff, planting seeds. By the time I'm ready to file for divorce, half the household will believe he's having an affair with that pathetic little housekeeper. Sophia something, barely speaks English, totally naive. She's the perfect scapegoat." Sophia gasped softly, her hand flying to her mouth. Marcus saw tears spring to her eyes, hurt and humiliation flooding her features. He reached out instinctively, placing a steadying hand on her shoulder. "Don't listen to her," he mouthed silently. "She's wrong about you." Victoria's voice continued, oblivious to her audience. "Dylan will be thrilled. Once I've secured at least $50 million in the divorce, we can finally be together publicly. Marcus is so predictable, so noble. He'll probably give me more than I'm entitled to just to avoid a scandal. And if he fights me, well, that's what the affair allegations are for. No billionaire wants his reputation dragged through the mud." Marcus's mind reeled. Dylan Hart, Victoria's ex-boyfriend, the man she'd sworn was completely out of her life when they'd started dating 2 years ago. He remembered her tearful explanation of their breakup, how Dylan had been controlling and manipulative, how grateful she was to have found Marcus. Every word had been a lie. "Mother, I have to go. Marcus should be home soon, and I need to play the loving fiancée," Victoria said with another laugh. Yes, I'll be careful. Love you too. Bye." Sophia and Marcus quickly moved away from the door, retreating down the hallway toward the main staircase. They didn't speak until they reached Marcus's private study, where he carefully closed and locked the door behind them. "How long have you known?" Marcus asked, his voice hoarse. Sophia twisted her hands together, clearly uncomfortable. "I started noticing things about 2 months ago. Small things at first. Miss Langston would be cold to me when you weren't around, but overly sweet when you were present. Then I overheard a phone call about 3 weeks ago, similar to this one. I wasn't sure if I should say anything. I thought maybe I misunderstood." "Why tell me now?" Marcus sat heavily in his leather desk chair, feeling decades older than his 33 years. "Because yesterday, I saw documents on her desk while cleaning her room, Sophia said, meeting his eyes with quiet courage. Papers from a divorce attorney, dated 3 weeks ago. She's planning this divorce before the marriage even happens, Mr. Ashford. And those papers, they mention me by name, claiming you and I had an inappropriate relationship. Marcus felt rage bubbling up inside him, not at Sophia's revelation, but at Victoria's calculated cruelty. Sophia had worked for him for 3 years, ever since she'd immigrated from Mexico at 24 with her family. She'd been nothing but professional, hardworking, and kind to everyone in the household. I need to see those documents, Marcus said. I took photographs, Sophia admitted, pulling out her phone with shaking hands. I know I shouldn't have, and I'm sorry for invading privacy, but I was scared. For you, but also for myself and my family. If these lies become public, it could destroy everything we've worked for here. She handed him her phone, and Marcus scrolled through the images. Legal documents outlined Victoria's strategy in clinical detail, establish timeline of alleged affair, gather witness statements from household staff who'd noticed Marcus and Sophia's suspicious interactions, use the scandal to negotiate a larger settlement despite the prenuptial agreement. This is remarkably thorough, Marcus said bitterly. She must have been planning this for months. I think longer, Sophia said softly. Mr. Ashford, I need to tell you something else. Last year, when you helped my family with my mother's medical bills, Miss Langston pulled me aside. She told me I should be grateful for your generosity, but warned me never to get ideas above my station. At the time, I thought she was just being protective of you. Now I realize she was already setting up this narrative. Marcus looked at Sophia properly for the first time since they'd left Victoria's door. Really looked at her. She was petite, barely reaching his shoulder, with long dark hair pulled back in a neat bun. Her brown eyes were red-rimmed from suppressed tears, but her spine was straight, her dignity intact despite Victoria's cruel words. Sophia, I want you to know that I have never, not for 1 second, thought of you as anything less than a valued member of this household, Marcus said firmly. What Victoria said about you, it's despicable and completely false. I know, Mr. Ashford, Sophia replied. You've always treated everyone with respect. That's why I couldn't stay silent. You deserve better than someone who sees you as just a bank account to drain. Marcus stood and walked to the window overlooking his estate's sprawling grounds. The setting sun painted everything in shades of gold and amber, beautiful and deceptive, much like his relationship with Victoria had been. I need to think, he said. I need to plan. Victoria is clearly intelligent and calculating. If I confront her directly, she might accelerate her timeline or become vindictive. What will you do? Sophia asked. Marcus turned back to face her, his expression hardening with determination. What I do best, outthink my opponent. But first, I need your help. Are you willing to continue as you have been, to pretend you haven't told me any of this? Sophia nodded without hesitation. Of course, whatever you need. Thank you, Marcus said, meaning it deeply. And Sophia, when this is all over, I want to do something for you and your family. Not out of obligation, but because you showed me loyalty and courage when it would have been easier to stay silent. That means more to me than you know. As Sophia left the study to return to her duties, Marcus sat down at his computer and began making calls. By morning, he would have a plan. Victoria wanted to play games with his money and reputation. She'd soon learn that Marcus Ashford hadn't built a billion-dollar empire by being anyone's fool. Over the next 2 weeks, Marcus Ashford became a man living 2 lives. Publicly, he remained the devoted fiancé, attending charity galas with Victoria on his arm, discussing wedding details with apparent enthusiasm, playing his role to perfection. Privately, he was assembling a case against her that would be absolutely airtight. He'd hired the best private investigation firm in New York, headed by a former FBI agent named Catherine Walsh. Within days, Catherine's team had uncovered a trail of deception that went back far longer than Marcus had imagined. Mr. Ashford, Catherine said during their confidential meeting in a neutral hotel suite, spreading photographs across the table. Your fiancé has been in continuous contact with Dylan Hart since before you even met. These photos show them together at various locations, restaurants, hotels, his apartment, dating back 26 months. Marcus studied the images, his jaw tightening. There was Victoria, his supposedly devoted girlfriend, kissing Dylan outside a Manhattan restaurant just 3 months ago. Another photo showed them entering a hotel together last month. During the weekend, Victoria had claimed to be at a spa retreat with girlfriends. There's more, Catherine continued. We've traced unusual financial activity. Over the past 18 months, small amounts have been transferred from various accounts you gave Miss Langston access to. Nothing large enough to trigger immediate red flags, but cumulatively, we're looking at nearly $2 million moved to offshore accounts. $2 million. Marcus felt sick. He'd given Victoria access to certain accounts for wedding planning and household expenses, trusting her completely. The accounts are in her name, but we believe Dylan Hart has access as well, Catherine explained. We've also uncovered communications between Miss Langston and a divorce attorney that predate your engagement by 6 months. She's been planning this from the beginning, Mr. Ashford. You were targeted. Marcus leaned back in his chair, processing the magnitude of the betrayal. How did they know about my wealth? When Victoria and I met at that charity auction, I wasn't publicly known. I keep a low profile intentionally. Catherine pulled out another file. Dylan Hart worked for Goldman Sachs. He had access to financial information about potential acquisition targets, including your company. We believe he identified you as a target and then orchestrated Victoria's chance meeting with you at that auction. She had attended similar events before but never made contact until that specific night. So it was all planned, Marcus said flatly. Every moment, every shared laugh, every intimate conversation, calculated to separate me from my money. I'm sorry, Mr. Ashford, Catherine said with genuine sympathy. But yes, the evidence strongly suggests this was a deliberate, long-term con. Back at the estate, Marcus found it increasingly difficult to maintain his facade around Victoria. That evening, she breezed into his study wearing a designer dress he'd paid for, her smile bright and false. Darling, you've been so distracted lately, she purred, wrapping her arms around him from behind. Is everything all right with the business? Just the usual pressures, Marcus lied smoothly. Nothing for you to worry about. Good. Victoria kissed his cheek. Because I was thinking, for our honeymoon, what about Bora Bora? Or maybe the Maldives? Somewhere truly romantic and private. Somewhere expensive and far from witnesses, when you spring whatever trap you're planning, Marcus thought but didn't say. Whatever makes you happy, my love, he said instead. After Victoria left to meet friends for dinner, or more likely, to meet Dylan, Marcus found himself wandering the house. He ended up in the kitchen, where Sophia was preparing staff meals for the next day. She looked up, startled, when he entered. Mr. Ashford, I didn't expect anyone. Would you like something? I can prepare. No, thank you, Sophia, Marcus said, pulling out a chair at the large wooden table where the staff ate. Do you mind if I sit here for a moment? Sophia looked uncertain, but nodded. Of course not. It's your house. It doesn't feel like it lately, Marcus admitted. He watched her work, finding something soothing in the simple, honest labor. Sophia, can I ask you something personal? She paused in her chopping. Yes, Mr. Ashford. When you came to this country, when you started working here, what were you hoping for? Sophia considered the question thoughtfully. Opportunity, she finally said. A chance to build something good for my family. A future where hard work mattered more than where you came from. She smiled slightly. I know it sounds naive. It doesn't, Marcus said. It sounds like what I wanted too, when I started my company. Somewhere along the way, I think I forgot that. Sophia resumed her work, chopping vegetables with practiced precision. Miss Langston came to see me today, she said quietly. Marcus's attention sharpened. What did she say? She asked if I'd noticed you seeming stressed. She said she was worried about you, that maybe you were working too hard. She was very sweet, very concerned. Sophia's hands stilled. Then she asked if I'd ever noticed you acting inappropriately toward any of the female staff. She made it sound casual, like she was just being protective, but I understood what she was really asking. What did you tell her? I told her you were the most professional employer I'd ever had, and that everyone on staff respected you completely, Sophia said firmly. She didn't like that answer. She suggested that maybe I hadn't been paying close enough attention. Marcus felt his anger rising. She's building her case, trying to get staff members to doubt their own perceptions. I know, Sophia said. I warned Mrs. Chun and some of the others to be careful what they say around her. We're all loyal to you, Mr. Ashford. No one believes her insinuations. Thank you, Marcus said. That loyalty means everything to me. They sat in comfortable silence for a while, Sophia working and Marcus watching, both finding peace in the quiet, honest moment. Eventually, Marcus stood to leave, but paused at the door. Sophia? That bakery you mentioned wanting to open someday, do you still dream about it? Sophia's face lit up before she quickly schooled her expression back to neutral. Sometimes. But it's just a dream. I'm fortunate to have this position. Dreams are important, Marcus said. Hold on to yours. And when all this is over, I'd like to help make it real. Not as your employer trying to buy loyalty, but as someone who believes in investing in good people with worthwhile dreams. After he left, Sophia stood alone in the kitchen, tears streaming down her face. Not tears of sadness, but of hope. Hope that good still existed in the world, that kindness still mattered, that maybe, just maybe, she and her family might find the better life they'd sacrificed everything to pursue. Upstairs, Marcus sat in his study reviewing Catherine Walsh's reports one more time. He had everything he needed now: proof of Victoria's ongoing affair, evidence of financial theft, documentation of her premeditated plans to destroy his reputation. He could destroy her legally, socially, financially. But as he thought about Sophia's simple dreams and honest work, about the staff who'd shown him loyalty despite Victoria's manipulations, Marcus realized he wanted something more than revenge. He wanted justice, yes, but he also wanted to move forward into a future built on truth instead of deception. Tomorrow he would set his plan in motion. Victoria thought she was so clever, so in control. She had no idea that every move she made was being documented, every lie recorded, every scheme exposed. The trap was set, and soon, very soon, it would spring shut. Marcus's plan was elegant in its simplicity. He scheduled a family dinner at the estate, inviting Victoria's mother, Eleanor Langston, and her brother, Christopher. He also invited his own best friend and business partner, David Chun, and his attorney, Robert Martinez, who happened to be Sophia's older cousin, though Marcus had hired him years before making that connection. I want to make an announcement about some changes to the prenuptial agreement, Marcus told Victoria casually 3 days before the dinner. My attorneys think we should add some provisions that protect both of us more fairly. Victoria's eyes had gleamed with barely concealed excitement. Oh, what kind of changes? I'll explain at the dinner, Marcus said. I want both our families there as witnesses to our commitment to each other. What Victoria didn't know was that Marcus had also arranged for Catherine Walsh and her team to be present, hiding in his study with recording equipment. The house's security system, which Victoria had never paid attention to, included audio recording in every room, something Marcus had installed years ago for security purposes, and that was perfectly legal in Connecticut with appropriate disclosure to residents and visitors. The night of the dinner arrived. The dining room gleamed with crystal and silver, the table laden with an elaborate meal prepared by the household chef. Victoria looked stunning in a designer gown, playing the role of gracious hostess to perfection. Marcus, darling, this is such a wonderful idea, Eleanor Langston gushed, already on her second glass of wine. Bringing our families together before the wedding. It's so traditional, so proper. Christopher Langston, Victoria's 26-year-old brother, seemed less enthusiastic. He'd always been quieter, more observant than his sister and mother. Marcus had noticed Christopher watching Victoria with an odd expression several times throughout the evening. As dessert was being served, Marcus stood, tapping his wine glass to get everyone's attention. Sophia, who was helping serve despite Marcus's suggestion that she join them as family, she'd politely declined, paused near the doorway. Thank you all for coming tonight, Marcus began. I wanted to gather the people closest to Victoria and me to discuss our future together. Victoria beamed, clearly anticipating good news about the prenuptial changes. I've spent the last few weeks doing a lot of thinking about marriage, about trust, about what it means to truly commit to another person, Marcus continued. His eyes found Victoria's. And I've learned some very important lessons. Something in his tone made Victoria's smile falter slightly. Marcus pulled out his phone and connected it to the room's sound system. I'd like to share something with all of you. A conversation recorded 2 weeks ago. Victoria's voice filled the room. Mother, will you relax? Everything is going exactly according to plan. The color drained from Victoria's face as her own words condemned her. The recording played in full. Her discussion of the affair allegations, her planned divorce, her relationship with Dylan. Everything. Eleanor Langston looked like she might faint. Christopher closed his eyes, shaking his head. David Chen's expression was murderous, while Robert Martinez took careful notes. Turn it off, Victoria whispered. Marcus, please. Let everyone hear the truth, Marcus said coldly. Let your mother hear how you plan to use me. Let your brother hear how you are going to destroy an innocent woman's reputation just to increase your divorce settlement. When the recording ended, the silence was deafening. Sophia stood frozen in the doorway, tears streaming down her face as she heard herself described so cruelly by a woman she'd served faithfully. How could you? Eleanor Langston finally spoke, staring at her daughter in horror. Victoria, how could you do something so calculating? Mother, you don't understand, Victoria started, but Eleanor held up her hand. I understand perfectly. I raised you to marry well, yes, but not to defraud and destroy good people. This is beyond anything I ever. Eleanor's voice broke. She turned to Marcus. I am so sorry. I had no idea she was capable of this. Christopher spoke up quietly. I did. All eyes turned to him. I suspected. I tried to talk to her months ago, tried to get her to stop, but she wouldn't listen. She said you were too trusting, too easy. He looked at Marcus with genuine regret. I should have warned you. I'm sorry. Victoria stood abruptly, her chair scraping against the floor. You're all acting like I'm some kind of criminal. Marcus and I had an arrangement. An arrangement? Marcus's voice was ice. Is that what you call systematically stealing $2 million from my accounts? Because my attorneys have a different word for it, embezzlement. He nodded to Robert, who pulled out a folder. These documents show every unauthorized transfer, every forged authorization, every penny you and Dylan Hart stole from me. I also have evidence of your ongoing affair, photographs dating back to before we even met. And I have this. He placed a final document on the table. A statement from Dylan Hart himself. When faced with evidence of financial fraud, he was very eager to cooperate with investigators. He's provided a full confession of how he identified me as a target, how he convinced you to pursue me, how you planned the entire scheme together. Victoria's face went from pale to ashen. Dylan wouldn't. He already did, Catherine Walsh said, stepping into the dining room with 2 police officers. Victoria Langston, I'm Catherine Walsh, private investigator. These officers are here to discuss the charges being filed against you for fraud, embezzlement, and conspiracy to commit theft. The next hour was chaos. Victoria was read her rights. Eleanor collapsed into tears. Christopher sat numbly staring at nothing. David and Robert handled the legal proceedings with calm efficiency, while Sophia and the other staff looked on in shock. Finally, Victoria was led away in handcuffs, still insisting it was all a misunderstanding, still trying to manipulate everyone around her. Before she left, she turned to Marcus one last time. You'll regret this, she hissed. The publicity alone will damage you. I doubt it, Marcus replied calmly. But even if it does, I'll survive. I always do. The question is, will you? After the police left, Marcus turned to Eleanor and Christopher Langston, who remained seated at the table, looking shell-shocked. I want you both to know that I don't hold you responsible for Victoria's actions, Marcus said quietly. And despite everything, I won't pursue criminal charges if she agrees to repay the stolen money and signs documents acknowledging her fraud. She'll have to deal with the consequences of her actions, but I won't destroy her completely if she cooperates. Eleanor looked up with red-rimmed eyes. That's more than she deserves. Why would you show her such mercy? Marcus glanced at Sophia, who stood quietly in the corner, her eyes still wet with tears. Because someone recently reminded me that revenge isn't as valuable as peace. And because I'd rather move forward than stay mired in bitterness. Christopher stood and extended his hand to Marcus. You're a better man than most. I'm sorry we couldn't be the family you deserved. After everyone else had left, Marcus found himself alone in the dining room with Sophia, who was quietly clearing dishes. You don't have to do that, Marcus said gently. Not tonight. Sophia paused, looking at him with those steady brown eyes. I know, but keeping busy helps me process. They worked together in silence, carrying plates to the kitchen. Finally, Sophia spoke. Thank you, she said softly. For what? For defending me. For making sure everyone knew those accusations were lies. For, she paused, searching for words. For seeing me as a person, not just as a tool for someone else's schemes. Sophia, Marcus said, turning to face her fully. I need you to understand something. What Victoria said about you, every cruel word, it revealed more about her character than yours. You are hardworking, honest, kind, and loyal. Those qualities are worth more than any amount of money. Sophia smiled through fresh tears. My father used to say something similar before he died. He said that integrity is the only wealth that can never be stolen from you. Your father was a wise man, Marcus said, and he raised an exceptional daughter. They stood in the kitchen, the site of so many quiet conversations over the past weeks, and Marcus felt something shift between them. Not just gratitude or mutual respect, but the first stirrings of something deeper, something that had been building without either of them fully realizing it. What happens now? Sophia asked. Now, Marcus said, I start building a life based on truth instead of lies. And I hope you'll be part of that journey, Sophia. Not as my employee, but as someone I value beyond measure. Sophia's breath caught. Mr. Ashford. Marcus, he corrected gently. Please. Marcus. She tried the name, her accent making it sound like music. I don't know if that's wise. The scandal, what people will think. I've spent too much time caring what people think, Marcus interrupted. It's time I started caring about what's real, what's true, what's worth fighting for. He took her hand carefully, giving her every opportunity to pull away. She didn't. I'm not asking for anything right now except honesty between us, Marcus said. Can we start there? Sophia nodded, squeezing his hand gently. Yes, we can start there. The weeks following Victoria's arrest were a whirlwind of media attention, legal proceedings, and personal reflection. Marcus had been right that the publicity would be intense, but wrong about its impact. Instead of damaging his reputation, the story of how he'd outsmarted a sophisticated con artist made him something of a folk hero among the business community. Billionaire outplays gold digger, read one headline. Tech CEO proves love can't be bought, proclaimed another. The narrative that emerged wasn't one of a foolish rich man being duped, but of a savvy businessman who'd refused to be a victim. Victoria, faced with overwhelming evidence and Dylan Hart's cooperation with prosecutors, took the plea deal Marcus's attorneys offered. She would repay the $2 million, serve 2 years probation, and sign a comprehensive agreement acknowledging her fraud. In exchange, Marcus wouldn't pursue maximum criminal penalties. You're being too generous, David Chin had argued when Marcus first proposed the deal. Maybe, Marcus acknowledged. But I'm not doing it for her. I'm doing it for me. I want to close this chapter and move forward, not spend years mired in court battles and revenge. The person most affected by the scandal, aside from Marcus himself, was Sophia. Despite Marcus's clear statements defending her innocence, the media fixated on the poor maid who'd been falsely accused. How does it feel to have your reputation dragged through the mud by a con artist? One reporter shouted at Sophia as she tried to enter the estate. Did you suspect all along? Another called out. Sophia had handled it all with quiet dignity, giving no interviews, making no statements, simply continuing her work and refusing to engage with the circus around her. But Marcus could see the toll it was taking. One evening, he found her sitting alone in the garden, the same spot where he'd confronted Victoria months ago. She was crying softly, her shoulders shaking with suppressed sobs. "Sophia," Marcus said gently, sitting beside her on the bench. "Talk to me." "I'm sorry," she said, wiping her eyes hastily. "I'm being foolish. I should be grateful that the truth came out, that my name was cleared." "But," Marcus prompted. "But I hate this," Sophia admitted. "I hate being in the news, having reporters follow me, having strangers think they know anything about me or my life. I hate that my family back in Mexico sees these stories and worries about me. And I hate—" She paused, struggling with the words. "What do you hate most?" Marcus asked softly. "I hate that even when the truth is told, people still whisper," Sophia said. "I can see it in how some of the other staff look at me now. They wonder if maybe there was something between us, if maybe that's why you defended me so strongly. The lie Victoria told, it's still there lingering, tainting everything." Marcus took her hand carefully. Over the past weeks, these small touches had become natural between them, a comfort they both sought in the chaos. "Then maybe we should give them something real to talk about," Marcus said. Sophia looked at him, confused. "What do you mean?" "I mean that I'm tired of hiding how I feel about you," Marcus said. "I've spent weeks telling myself we need to wait, that the timing is wrong, that we should let the scandal die down first. But Sophia, life is too short and too uncertain to waste time on fear." "Marcus, I'm in love with you," he said simply. "I think I've been falling in love with you for months, maybe since the day you first challenged me to see beyond my own privilege, to remember what really matters in life. You're honest and brave and kind, and you make me want to be a better man." Sophia's eyes filled with fresh tears, but these were different, tears of hope rather than pain. "I love you too," she whispered. "But Marcus, I'm scared. Scared of what people will say, scared of the power imbalance, scared that I'm not enough for your world." "My world?" Marcus shook his head. "Sophia, you've taught me more about what matters than anyone in my world ever did. And as for the power imbalance, you're resigning, effective immediately." Sophia's eyes widened. "What?" "But I need this job, my family depends." "Let me finish," Marcus said with a smile. "You're resigning as my employee because I'm investing in your bakery. We're going to be business partners, equal partners, in making your dream come true. And then, when there's no employee-employer relationship between us, I'm going to court you properly. Dates, flowers, getting to know each other as two people who choose to spend time together, not because of any professional obligation." "You want to invest in my bakery?" Sophia asked, stunned. "I want to invest in you," Marcus corrected. "In your dreams, your future, your happiness. Not as charity, but because I believe in you and because I want to be part of building something real and good with you." Sophia was quiet for a long moment, processing everything. Then, slowly, she smiled, a genuine, radiant smile that transformed her entire face. "Okay," she said. "Yes. Let's do this the right way. Let me resign, let me start my bakery, and let's see where this goes when we're just Marcus and Sophia, not billionaire and employee." "Just Marcus and Sophia," Marcus repeated, liking the sound of it. "I think that's the best idea I've heard in a long time." They sat together in the garden as the sun set, hands clasped, talking about the future. Sophia shared her detailed plans for the bakery, the recipes she wanted to feature, the community she hoped to build, the cultural traditions she wanted to honor through her food. Marcus listened, fascinated, adding practical business advice, but mostly just enjoying her passion and vision. "There's something else I want you to know," Marcus said as the evening grew dark. "I've established a fund for the household staff. Everyone who worked here during the Victoria situation and maintained their loyalty and professionalism is receiving a significant bonus and improved benefits. You showed me that the people who work in my home aren't just employees, they're the foundation of everything I've built." Sophia squeezed his hand. "That's a wonderful thing to do. I'm also implementing new policies, better pay, better hours, more respect for personal time. Marcus continued. You were right when you implied that I'd lost touch with what matters. I'm trying to fix that. You're a good man, Marcus Ashford, Sophia said softly. That's what I saw in you from the beginning, underneath all the wealth and success. A genuinely good man who deserved better than what Victoria was giving you. And you're an extraordinary woman, Sophia Martinez, Marcus replied. Which is why I'm going to do everything in my power to deserve your love. Inside the house, Mrs. Chen watched from a window, smiling to herself. She'd seen the way Marcus and Sophia looked at each other for months now, had recognized the growing affection even when they themselves seemed blind to it. It's about time, she murmured to James, the butler, who stood beside her. Indeed, James agreed. True love was right in front of him all along. Sometimes we have to lose what we thought we wanted to find what we truly need. In the garden, Marcus and Sophia sat together in comfortable silence, both feeling like they'd finally come home after a long, difficult journey. The path ahead wouldn't be easy. There would be more media attention, more whispers, more challenges to face. But they would face them together, building something real and lasting on a foundation of honesty, respect, and genuine love. For the first time in months, Marcus felt at peace. And for the first time since coming to America, Sophia felt like she truly belonged, not as an employee or an outsider, but as someone valued and cherished for exactly who she was. 3 months after Victoria's arrest, Sophia stood in front of a charming brick building in the village near Marcus's estate, her hands pressed against the window as she peered inside. The space was perfect. High ceilings, lots of natural light, and enough room for both a commercial kitchen and a cozy cafe area where customers could enjoy fresh pastries and coffee. What do you think? Marcus asked, standing beside her with a grin. I think it's perfect, Sophia breathed. But Marcus, the rent on a property like this must be actually owned by a holding company that's willing to lease it to you at a very reasonable rate, Marcus interrupted. And before you argue, this is a legitimate business arrangement. I've had my attorneys draw up papers that make you the primary owner of the bakery, with me as a minority investor. You'll have full creative and operational control. Sophia turned to him, eyes shining. You really did this? I really did, Marcus confirmed. And I've arranged for you to meet with several small business consultants who can help you navigate licensing, health codes, all the regulatory stuff. I want you to succeed, Sophia, but I want you to succeed on your own terms. Over the next weeks, Sophia threw herself into making her dream a reality. She worked with designers to create a warm, welcoming space that honored her Mexican heritage while appealing to the local Connecticut community. The walls would feature artwork from local Latino artists. The menu would include traditional pan dulce alongside American favorites, creating a fusion that represented Sophia's own journey. Marcus watched her transformation with awe. No longer constrained by the role of housekeeper, Sophia blossomed into a confident entrepreneur. She negotiated with suppliers, hired staff, including her younger brother, who'd graduated college, and built a business plan that impressed even Marcus's most skeptical business advisors. She's the real deal, David Chin told Marcus after reviewing Sophia's plans. You didn't just find a romantic partner, you found a legitimate business talent. I know, Marcus said proudly. I always knew she was capable of amazing things. She just needed the opportunity. As Sophia's bakery took shape, Marcus and Sophia's relationship deepened. They went on real dates, dinner at quiet restaurants, walks through art galleries, movie nights where they debated the endings. Marcus learned about Sophia's childhood in Mexico, her father's struggles with depression after his business failed, the courage it took for her family to start over in a new country. Sophia learned about Marcus's loneliness growing up as an only child, the pressure he'd felt to succeed after his parents' death, the way he'd bury himself in work to avoid dealing with grief and isolation. I think we both built walls around ourselves, Sophia said one evening as they walked through a park, fallen leaves crunching under their feet. You with your wealth and success, me with my role as the invisible servant. We were both hiding. And now? Marcus asked, lacing his fingers through hers. Now we're learning to be seen, Sophia said. Really seen for who we actually are. It's terrifying and wonderful at the same time. The media attention gradually died down, but not completely. When word got out that Marcus was dating his former housekeeper, the tabloids had a field day. "Billionaire falls for the help," screamed one headline, accompanied by a photo of Marcus and Sophia leaving a restaurant together. "From mansion maid to millionaire's girlfriend," proclaimed another. The coverage was often condescending, painting Sophia as a Cinderella figure who'd gotten lucky, rather than an educated, talented woman who'd earned every opportunity through hard work and integrity. It bothered Marcus more than it bothered Sophia. "Let them write what they want," Sophia said when Marcus expressed his frustration. "I know the truth. You know the truth. The people who matter know the truth. That's enough." "Doesn't it hurt you?" Marcus asked. "Being reduced to a cliché, having people assume you're only with me for money?" "Of course it hurts," Sophia admitted. "But Marcus, I grew up poor in a country where being poor means you're often invisible. I've worked jobs where I was treated like I didn't matter, where people looked right through me. These tabloid stories? At least they see me as a person, even if they're getting the story wrong. I can live with that." Her resilience humbled Marcus. While he'd spent his life insulated by wealth and privilege, Sophia had developed a strength forged through genuine struggle. She didn't need his money or his protection. She was choosing to be with him, which made all the difference. 6 months after their relationship began, Sophia's bakery, called Races Y Ramas, Roots and Branches, opened its doors. The grand opening was a community celebration, with Marcus purposely staying in the background to let Sophia shine. The bakery was an instant success. Sophia's conscious, tres leches cake and cinnamon rolls drew customers from miles around. But more than the food, it was the atmosphere Sophia created that made the bakery special. It became a gathering place where Latino families felt at home and welcomed, while also introducing the broader community to cultural traditions they might never have experienced. "You did this," Marcus told Sophia as they stood together after closing on opening day, surveying the happy chaos of the successful launch. "We did this," Sophia corrected, kissing his cheek. "You believed in me when I didn't fully believe in myself. You gave me the chance to try." "All I did was provide capital," Marcus said. "You provided everything else, the vision, the talent, the heart. This is your achievement, Sophia." As the seasons changed and the bakery thrived, Marcus found himself becoming part of Sophia's world in ways he'd never experienced in his previous relationship. He spent Sundays with her family, where her mother taught him to make tamales and her brother challenged him to fierce games of dominoes. He attended community events where Sophia volunteered, seeing firsthand the difference that caring and commitment could make in people's lives. "You've changed," Davidson observed one day as he and Marcus reviewed quarterly reports. "You're lighter somehow, happier." "I am happier," Marcus admitted. "Sophia showed me that there's more to life than building wealth and closing deals. Don't get me wrong, I still love the work. But it's not everything anymore." "Good," David said. "Because honestly, you were becoming a workaholic robot there for a while. It's nice to have my friend back." That evening, Marcus took Sophia to the spot in his garden where they'd had so many meaningful conversations. The roses were in full bloom, their scent heavy in the warm air. "I have something for you," Marcus said, pulling a small box from his pocket. Sophia's eyes widened. "Marcus." "It's not what you think," he said quickly, opening the box to reveal a delicate silver key. "This is the key to the house. I want you to have it, not as an employee or a visitor, but as someone who belongs here. As someone I want in my life, in my space, in my future." Sophia took the key with trembling hands. "Are you asking me to move in with you?" "I'm asking you to consider it," Marcus said. "No pressure, no expectations. But Sophia, I love you. I love coming home to find you in the kitchen experimenting with new recipes. I love how you've made friends with all the staff and turned this big, lonely house into a real home. I love the life we're building together, and I want to build more of it." Sophia looked at the key, then at Marcus, her expression soft with emotion. "I love you too. And yes, I want to build a life with you. But Marcus, I need to do it at my own pace, in my own way. I'm not ready to move in yet. I need to maintain my independence, my own space, at least for now. I understand, Marcus said, and he truly did. Whenever you're ready, or if you're never ready and we keep separate spaces, that's okay too. What matters is that we're honest with each other about what we need. Thank you for understanding, Sophia said, setting the key carefully back in the box. And thank you for offering. It means everything to me that you see me as an equal partner, not someone to be taken care of or protected. They sat together on their bench, watching the stars come out, both content in the knowledge that they were building something real, a relationship based on mutual respect, honest communication, and genuine love. Do you ever think about Victoria? Sophia asked quietly. Sometimes, Marcus admitted. Not with anger anymore, but with a kind of grateful sadness. Her betrayal hurt tremendously, but it also freed me to find something real. If she hadn't shown me what false love looks like, I might never have recognized true love when it found me. That's a very generous way to look at it, Sophia said. I learned it from you, Marcus replied. You taught me that holding on to bitterness only weighs you down. Better to learn from the pain and move forward. They sat in comfortable silence, both reflecting on the journey that had brought them to this moment, from employer and employee to partners and lovers, from isolation to connection, from guarded hearts to open vulnerability. It hadn't been easy, and the road ahead would have its own challenges, but they were facing it together, and that made all the difference. 1 year after Victoria's arrest, Marcus stood in the grand ballroom of the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York City. He was hosting a charity gala for a cause close to his heart, scholarships for immigrant children pursuing higher education. Beside him, looking radiant in a midnight blue gown, stood Sophia. Are you nervous? Marcus asked, squeezing her hand. Terrified, Sophia admitted with a laugh. A year ago, I was serving at events like this. Now I'm hosting one. It's surreal. You belong here, Marcus said firmly. Not because of me, but because of what you've accomplished. Your bakery has become a community institution. You've created jobs, supported local artists, and built a bridge between cultures. That's worth celebrating. The gala was a stunning success. Sophia's bakery had catered part of the event, and her pan dulce and innovative fusion desserts were the talk of the evening. More importantly, the event raised over $5 million for the scholarship fund. During his speech, Marcus surprised everyone by inviting Sophia to join him at the podium. Many of you know my story, Marcus told the assembled crowd of New York's elite. A year ago, I narrowly avoided a marriage to someone who saw me as nothing more than a bank account. It was a painful, public lesson in trust and betrayal. But what most of you don't know is that the person who saved me from that disaster was someone I'd completely overlooked, my housekeeper, Sophia Martinez. Sophia's eyes widened, but Marcus continued. Sophia showed me what real integrity looks like. She risked her job, her reputation, and her security to tell me a truth I needed to hear. She asked for nothing in return except the hope that I would make a better choice. And in the process of getting to know her, of really seeing her for the first time, I learned what love is supposed to look like. The ballroom was silent, everyone hanging on Marcus's words. I'm not sharing this story to make headlines or create drama, Marcus said. I'm sharing it because it illustrates what we're celebrating tonight, the incredible potential that exists in people who just need a chance to show what they're capable of. Sophia came to this country with nothing but hope and determination. She worked tirelessly to support her family while pursuing her own dreams. And when given an opportunity, she built something beautiful that serves her community and honors her heritage. He turned to Sophia, taking both her hands. The scholarship fund we're launching tonight is in honor of people like Sophia, immigrants who represent the very best of what America can be. People who work hard, dream big, and contribute immeasurably to our communities. Every dollar raised tonight will help a young person like Sophia was 3 years ago, giving them the chance to pursue education and build a better future. The ballroom erupted in applause. Sophia had tears streaming down her face, but she was smiling. Later, as they danced together while the orchestra played, Sophia rested her head on Marcus's shoulder. Thank you for that, she whispered. For honoring my story, for using your platform to help others like me. Thank you for teaching me what really matters, Marcus replied. For showing me that the most valuable things in life can't be bought or sold. They have to be earned through character and commitment. As the evening wound down, Marcus led Sophia out onto the museum's terrace, overlooking Central Park. The city glittered below them, full of possibility and promise. I have something I've been wanting to ask you, Marcus said, his heart suddenly pounding. Yes? Sophia looked at him curiously. Marcus dropped to one knee, pulling out a small velvet box. Sophia Maria Martinez, this past year with you has been the best year of my life. You've challenged me, inspired me, and loved me not for what I have but for who I am. You've built an incredible life of your own, achieved dreams that are entirely yours, and still chosen to share your heart with me. Will you marry me? The ring in the box was simple and elegant, a sapphire surrounded by diamonds, in the deep blue color Sophia had once mentioned was her favorite. Sophia's hands flew to her mouth, tears flowing freely now. Marcus, are you sure? The media will go crazy. People will say terrible things, assume I'm just after your money. Let them say whatever they want, Marcus interrupted. I know the truth. You know the truth. And anyone who matters knows the truth. I love you, Sophia. Not the idea of you. Not what you represent, but you. The woman who sings while she bakes, who remembers everyone's birthday, who can quote poetry and negotiate with suppliers in the same breath. You. Will you marry me? Yes, Sophia breathed. Yes, absolutely yes. Marcus slipped the ring onto her finger and stood, pulling her into a kiss that felt like coming home. Around them, a few other gala attendees who'd wandered onto the terrace began to applaud, but Marcus and Sophia barely noticed, lost in their own world. The next morning, the engagement was front-page news, but the tone was different from the coverage of his relationship with Victoria. Most outlets focused on the genuine love story, the way Sophia had built her own success, the scholarship fund they'd launched together. Billionaire finds true love with Baker, read one headline, accompanied by a photo of them dancing at the gala. From employee to equal partner, a modern love story, proclaimed another. There were still cynical voices, still people who assumed Sophia must have ulterior motives, but they were drowned out by an outpouring of support from the community that knew them both. Sophia's bakery was flooded with congratulatory cards and well wishes. Marcus's business partners expressed genuine happiness at seeing him so content. Even Eleanor and Christopher Langston sent a note congratulating them and apologizing again for Victoria's actions. We're not invited to the wedding, I assume, Eleanor had written, but we wanted you both to know that we wish you every happiness. You deserve it. As Marcus and Sophia planned their wedding, a smaller, more intimate affair than the massive event Victoria had wanted, they reflected on the journey that had brought them together. Do you ever wonder what would have happened if I hadn't overheard Victoria that day? Sophia asked one evening as they reviewed seating charts for the ceremony. Every day, Marcus admitted. I like to think I would have figured out her scheme eventually, but I don't know for sure. You saved me, Sophia. In more ways than you realize. I think we saved each other, Sophia corrected gently. You gave me the courage to dream bigger, to believe I was capable of more than I thought possible. We both needed exactly what the other offered. 6 months later, they were married in a ceremony that honored both their backgrounds, traditional American elements blended with Mexican customs. Sophia's mother walked her down the aisle. Marcus's best friend David served as best man, while Sophia's brother stood beside her as man of honor. The ceremony was held in the garden of Marcus's estate, at the bench where they'd shared so many meaningful conversations. Marcus James Ashford, take you, Sophia Maria Martinez, to be my wife, Marcus said, his voice strong and clear. I promise to honor your independence, celebrate your successes, and support your dreams. I promise to see you, truly see you, every single day for the rest of our lives. I promise to build a partnership of equals, where love is measured in respect and commitment, not in money or status. I, Sophia Maria Martinez, take you, Marcus James Ashford. To be my husband, Sophia responded, her voice equally steady. I promise to challenge you when you need it and comfort you when you hurt. I promise to remind you of what matters when the world tries to distract you. I promise to love you for exactly who you are, brilliant and flawed, generous and stubborn, mine, and entirely yourself. As they kissed to seal their vows, the assembled guests cheered. The household staff, all in attendance and beaming with pride, were among the loudest celebrators. Mrs. Chin dabbed at her eyes with a handkerchief while James smiled broadly. The reception was a joyful blend of cultures, mariachi music alternating with jazz, Mexican cuisine alongside American favorites, everyone dancing and celebrating the union of two people who'd found each other in the most unexpected way. As the evening drew to a close and Marcus and Sophia prepared to leave for their honeymoon, a trip to Mexico to visit Sophia's extended family followed by time in Paris, they stood together one last time in their garden. Happy? Marcus asked, holding his wife close. Incredibly, Sophia replied. Though I keep expecting to wake up and find this was all a dream. It's real, Marcus assured her. All of it. The love, the partnership, the future we're building together. It's all beautifully, wonderfully real. They stood under the stars, two people from different worlds who'd found common ground in honesty, respect, and genuine love. Behind them, the house glowed with warm light, no longer a lonely mansion but a true home filled with people who cared for each other. And in that moment, both Marcus and Sophia understood that the best things in life aren't the ones we plan for or orchestrate. They're the ones that find us when we're brave enough to be vulnerable, honest enough to speak our truth, and open enough to recognize love when it appears in unexpected forms. Their story had started with betrayal and deceit, with a whispered warning outside a closed door. But it had transformed into something beautiful, a testament to the power of integrity, the importance of seeing beyond surface appearances, and the miracle that can happen when two people choose to build something real in a world that often values pretense over authenticity. As they drove away to begin their honeymoon, Sophia looked back at the estate one last time. No regrets? Marcus asked. Not a single one, Sophia said, taking his hand. This is exactly where I'm meant to be, exactly who I'm meant to be with. Everything that happened, the pain, the struggle, the fear, it all led us here. And here is perfect. Marcus smiled, bringing her hand to his lips for a gentle kiss. Here is perfect, he agreed. And so is our future, because we're facing it together. And as they drove off into their new life, both knew that they'd found something rare and precious, a love built on truth, strengthened by adversity, and destined to grow deeper with every passing day.